Guys, welcome back to another episode of A to the show. Today we have Cam F. Awesome. I mean, what's better than that name? Simply. But anyway, meet Cam. From a bully teenager to a record breaking boxer, Cam's journey is a powerful testament to resilience, determination, and the human spirit. And his keynote, becoming awesome, if you can fall without being discouraged, success becomes inevitable. Cam shares hard-earned wisdom with humor, vulnerability, and passion. He inspires audiences to embrace setbacks, set bold goals, and unlock their full potential both personally and professionally. And also, don't forget to catch his documentary on Netflix. It's called Counterpunch. Great stuff. Amazing, to be honest.
Let's
Yeah,
go. 1, 2, hit him with it.
Yeah.
Um,
Are you in a
exactly.
gi over there?
yeah, I got my taekwondo. Yeah, gear
Oh man, that's
going
dope.
on.
Ready for
uh,
combat, man.
you punch, I counter
Exactly.
punch. You can say, okay. I have a question for you, Cam. While we're here, so boxing is a very, let's say, a lonely journey in that you're training by yourself. You're getting up early by yourself. No one else is there. You're just you and your thoughts, whether you're doing, cardio or running. I guess the times you're interacting with others is during sparring and when you're in the gym with others. But how do you take on that loneliness and being alone? I think for me that's one of the hardest things about going to the gym consistently is that it's hard to be by myself and doing it by myself and be motivated to be alone.
Yeah. Uh I think, and that's like some people like if they go, I need music to run. So, but it is I keep myself entertained. I have stories constantly going in my head, and yeah, I also talk to myself out loud. So I wear headphones. I wear these AirPods always. When I work out, always wear them. Nothing's ever playing. It just makes it less weird when I'm talking to myself. It's like, he might be on a call. But yeah, I'm entertaining. Just
You're one of those on the train that's like constantly on a phone call, but you're actually not on a phone call. Even when you don't have reception, you're somehow on a phone call. Yeah.
yeah.
No, I've definitely done that once on the tube. I just, in my head, I'm like closing massive business deals when I'm just like talking to myself, just whiffing.
Yeah. Yeah. But so like you always talk to yourself and you always tell yourself a story. What's the
Mm.
story that you tell yourself? Like that's my whole thing. You can tell yourself any story you want. It doesn't even have to be based on reality. Like,
Okay.
what's wrong with a
so
little bit of delusion?
so what are you telling yourself? You're training at the gym, you're talking to yourself. What are you saying?
Bro, I'm the shit. So you know how rap music, you just basically they just talk about how amazing they are and how great they are and how much money they have and how much better than they are than you and
Yep.
how they'll take your woman from you because they're so flashy. I was the Lil Wayne mixtape walking around because those were the type of things I told myself all of the time. So I carry myself as I'm a very non confrontational guy. I'm a happy guy. But in my Honda hybrid, I'm Mr. Fuck Yo Bitch. Like, that is because you channel a certain thing about yourself through music, right?
Yeah.
I would listen to very specific songs that empowered me and made me feel good. And like I would do that before fights. I would walk 3 hours every day to the gym in high school. And I didn't have music
Wow.
back then. So I would just make up stories in my head. And like 3 hours is a long time. And all these stories, I was the greatest. I won all my fights. I had all the jewelry, all the championships. I was knocking everyone out. And although none of it was actual reality, the more highly I spoke about myself, the better I did at the gym. And that just created like a confidence feedback loop. You just tell yourself whatever you want, bro. It's crazy.
Was there ever a story that you created in your head that came true or even partially came true?
My whole life. Like, all right, so when I was like 8, my mom went, me and my mom was in the car. She left me in the car to go get something in the store. I was sitting in the passenger seat looking out on at a fence. There's a bird on the fence. And I told myself, I have superpowers if that bird poops right now. I shit you not. The bird pooped. And at that point, I was sure I had superpowers. I didn't know how to harness it, but obviously you've seen the movies. The first 20 minutes is a character figuring out how to use their superpowers.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And I figured mine out. I had one slightly insignificant wish a day, like making a bird poop. I get to twist fate just one small thing every day. Like if I was this is how I was thinking from like the age of 8. If I took a test, my one wish for the day is that I pass the test. I'm making realistic wishes though. I can't wish for 100. I knew nothing what was going to be on that test. I just wish for a passing grade. And I would get those little things. And I would always have one small wish a day. And if I had a big wish coming up, I would save up a few days and use them all for one big wish. Does that make sense?
No. Tell us.
That's the nonsense.
One more time, please.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I, so I told myself things would happen and then they
Hmm.
happened.
Yep.
And I
Mhm.
started doing that with small things. And
Hmm.
I realized I could do that with anything in life. So I would just tell myself stories that I could accomplish anything. And I would tell myself stories that I would win in boxing all the time.
Hmm.
Uh, I went from never being able to make a team in school. I've never played a team sport. I tried out for all the teams except for 8th grade. I got injured before I got cut, so it doesn't count. But within 2 years, I
Yeah.
became the number one heavyweight in the country just by talking to myself.
Wow.
Okay. So,
Okay.
and you were saying this is only based on the stories that you're creating in your head, or is this more of like motivating self-talk that allowed you to, kind of get the ball rolling for yourself and start focusing on your training and focusing on all of the work that you're putting in?
It was a little bit of both.
Hmm.
It was self talk, but it was, and I didn't know what manifesting was back then. I was literally here's how it is in boxing. Like I had a buddy who was a very good boxer. He was 16 years old and he was fighting another 16-year-old, but his opponent had tattoos.
Mm.
And my buddy's like, I got to fight a guy with tattoos. You can't be 16 with tattoos. Is that even legal? And I saw he psyched himself out.
Yep.
And he ended up
Yeah.
losing that fight because mentally he told himself a story that he was supposed to lose.
Yeah.
So I started telling myself stories that I was supposed to win all of the time. The problem with that is it seems a little bit obnoxious and it turns some people off. Uh, but
Nothing secure.
casualties
It's
of
fine.
war.
Yeah. Exactly.
Casualties of
Exactly.
war. Hey, that's the thing. When you just want to be yourself, I mean, not everyone's gonna like you. But it's way better than being average and plain and boring, because then you're not yourself, and that sounds
Yeah.
even more depressing than someone being rubbed the wrong way because of your mentality. And I don't know. I mean, I'm sure for you, like growing up, not all your friends had this kind of mentality. So maybe how did other people take it, and how did you embrace that lonely journey for yourself?
I enjoy being alone, and the cool thing is like I traveled 300 days a week throughout all of my 20s, like from the time I was 19 to about
Wow,
30.
that's a lot of days.
And I was always traveling on flights by myself, and sometimes I was with the Team
Hmm.
USA, and but I was at a lot of airports by myself, gyms by myself, hotels, And what I found is there's strangers everywhere, and they're essentially disposable to a point. If you want to try to practice speaking to someone and like breaking out of your shell, just talk to someone you'll never see again. If it's weird, laugh it off. They'll talk about you at dinner the next day. But it just taught you, okay, I'm not going to mention that thing anymore. And that's where I really learned to break out my shell, is just like talking to strangers on the road. I had some weird conversations. I still do.
Would you be willing to share one of those weird conversations? I mean, I don't think you're ever going to see us again. I don't know.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Oh, well, I hope to see you guys again.
Yes, I hope so too.
I mean, I have so many friends. I lived in a van for 3 years, and I would just meet people in my van. Like, so if I go to a restaurant and you're sitting by yourself,
Yeah.
even if you ordered already, as long as you didn't get your food, I would ask if I could join you.
Mm.
And like 7 times out of 10, someone says yes. And we just have like a conversation. And I don't even want your Instagram. I don't want to talk to you again. I just want to enjoy this moment.
To be honest, Cam,
And
that
I can
doesn't sound
share.
weird. That doesn't sound weird. It sounds just like you're a person who doesn't have social anxiety, and you're just a social person, which is something that maybe not a lot of people are. But when you do approach them, like you said, 7 out of 10, those are good statistics. Like those are good chances that you're actually going to have a positive interaction with people, and that's most people in the world. So, I mean, good on you, man. A lot of people are afraid to do that.
Yeah.
Hopefully, other people who are watching this will, take that chance. Will, learn from you and take that chance.
Yeah. What I ask people when I tell, because they're like, that's crazy. I'm like, okay, I asked, if I asked to join you for lunch, would you say yes? And most
Of
people are
course.
like, yeah. And, and I'm like, then why wouldn't someone else want you to join them?
Hmm.
Exactly. Fair point.
Yeah.
People generally are very nice when you get to meet
Get
them and
off.
talk to them.
Yeah, get offline. People are very nice in person. Even awkward niceness, like, or yeah, even Midwest nice, because that's a thing. But people are just genuinely nice.
Uh-huh.
I the more I stay off social media, the more I realize, oh, people are pretty dope.
Hmm. Okay, I have a question for you. Let's say I am having all these negative thoughts in my head. I'll role play, okay? I'm sad, I suck. I'm a victim. Nothing ever goes my way. I don't have anything. I'm starting with nothing. I live in my van. I got nothing to look forward to. What would you tell me?
First, assess your life. Why are you in this situation? Is there any accountability there? There should be. Even if it wasn't your fault, it is your responsibility. We're adults. Let's move forward.
Mm-hmm.
Second thing, before trying to add anything to your life to bring you happiness, try removing some things. It's way easier. Like I removed social media. I removed the news. I removed uh yeah, I eat healthier. I removed a lot of things from my life, and it slightly improved my life.
Mm-hmm.
Also, you didn't get sad overnight, and this is what I had to tell myself. This is me talking to me, by the way. You didn't get sad overnight. You're not going to get happy overnight either. Also, I have a terrible relationship with food. I fluctuate my weight, uh, and I'm when I catch my. You know how you never saw yourself get taller?
Mm-hmm.
Same
Yeah.
way with getting fat. It's like I was there the whole time. I didn't even notice it. Then you see like a picture from a weird angle. You're like, oh wow, we got away from ourselves. So, uh, and when I find myself in those situations, I'm like, okay, here's accountability. What have we been doing? Well, we eat when we drive too much.
Mm.
I love eating when I drive. Chipotle burrito, I unwrap it like an ice cream cone. It's
That's
a
a
good time.
mess.
It,
You got
oh
some
no, no,
beans
I've
flying
perfected it,
everywhere.
bro. I've
Some
perfected
guacamole
it.
up all over your beard.
I, you would be impressed with my ability to eat a Chipotle burrito without spilling a ride. But when I like to, I take a lot of road trips and I eat and I drive and I have to remove things from my life. So I would just say everyone's telling you things to add to your life to make your life
Hmm.
better. Remove things that bring you misery. Understand how the human brain works. Are you familiar with your reticular activating system?
No.
So it's a filter in your brain. We refer to it
Hmm.
as your RAS. Now, I'm not
Hmm.
a doctor. It can be argued, but it's a filter in your brain. Your brain takes in billions of bits of information every
Hmm.
moment and it filters it through your RAS. So it goes from billions of bits of information to just 35 bits. What's shown? Well, your brain gives you what it thinks you're looking for, what it believes is relevant to you. So you go shopping for a yellow car all weekend, you don't find one, then you start seeing yellow cars everywhere.
Hmm.
That's your
Yeah.
reticular activating system at work. Your brain can see all of the cars, it only shows you the ones it believes is relevant to you.
Mm.
It's why
Okay.
whichever car you happen to drive seems to be one of the most popular cars on the road. It's not. It's what your brain's already looking for. So when you think about the things you consume, you're on social media, you watch the news, you're in some ratchet group chats with your friends,
Uh-huh.
you're seeing death, destruction, murder, genocide, and rape all over. When you constantly start your day with those type of things, what do you think you're going to see in everyday life?
Hmm.
Yeah.
Insanity.
So
Yeah.
start when
That makes
Hmm.
sense.
and so once you start to change the things you consume, remove the things that bring you negativity in your life. And a lot of people might think like, so we all have a negative person in our life, right?
Hmm.
Like,
Yep.
think about that negative person.
Hmm.
Oh
Does
yeah.
that person think they're negative?
Probably not.
Yeah, I think sometimes they do say like, "Hey, that is who I am. I'm just negative. I'm not like you. I'm not a happy guy. Why are you so naive? I'm a realist."
I
That's what I hear. I'm
I,
a
I
realist.
agree with you. Anything you say becomes true. Just like if you say I'm bad with technology, every time you run into hardship with technology, you'll throw your hands in the air, and be like, "Well, I'm not good at this." But if you say you're good at technology, you'll just Google it, troubleshoot, and
Mm.
figure it out. If you were to start figuring things out at the iPhone 8, do you know how good you would be at technology by now? But if you
Yeah.
were to
You
just
have like
say, "Oh, I'm
years
bad
of
at
experience.
technology," yeah, that's how it happens.
Said, do you want to take us on a little bit of a journey into your own mind,
Isn't right now?
just in general?
Oh.
Like, what your
Hmm.
thoughts on this self talk that we've been talking about?
I personally support it. I'm a person who does that continuously for, for example, with like social interactions or my emotions. Um, if let's say I had a negative interaction with a person, I will break it down in my head and then kind of like look at all of the possibilities of why this was a negative interaction. And then I will choose the most suitable answer in my head, like the one that's for me seems like the most accurate. Sometimes I'll share it with others just to, kind of get feedback from other people and see what they think, especially if I'm not too sure of the answer. So that's how I approach things. I don't know
Can you give
if
us an example?
maybe you do
What
the
do you
same.
mean? So, you come up with all the possibilities. You've had negative
Yes.
interactions recently. Say, tell us about it. What do you go through?
Hmm. Okay. So for example, let's go to the example of the person that I was picturing in my head who's, very negative. This
Hmm.
was my ex-boss.
Hmm.
He's the first person that popped in my head, and because this was like all of our personal interactions were always negative, um, and the only positive interactions that I do remember were over text. So I used to always constantly think is like Is this person a positive? Because like with other people, he would be more positive. He'd have positive interactions, and he's a positive person. But with me, it didn't work out. So I constantly battled with the idea like, is he positive or negative person? It was very confusing. So that one was a bit like something I could never really fully decide on. But I basically chose to stay with the, because of the personal interactions with him were negative. I stuck with that decision and saying that is probably my perception of him. Does that make sense? I don't know.
That no, that makes sense, and I love that you said it's your perception of him, and because you're leaving it open because you didn't say, "Oh, he hates me," but you're just like, "Oh, you think he might." Are you high at work a lot? Are you paranoid? Is that no? I'm joking. No.
No,
Uh, it's like, oh man, everybody hates me. Do they smell it? Do they smell it?
Whoa, the plant is moving. Whoa, even the plants hate me.
no, no. I was I wasn't high at work.
Well, maybe you should have been. So he- here's the thing about perception. Like you could you could be you guys could be hanging out with each other, or let's say you and your wife, your girlfriend at the house, she walks right by you without barely looking at you. And you're
Mm,
like, oh, she has her attitude again. Like, oh, she must be on her period. Or you just make up this story in your head about how she's always moody and she's always angry and she's been crabby lately. Turns out she just didn't have her contacts in and she didn't see you.
mm,
But you told
Yeah,
yourself this story. And then when you approach her with the she's being a bitch energy. So you're already combative. And then she responds to that. And you just spoke your story into existence. Whatever you say becomes true. And you have so much power over your perception. But I love Saeed, just you saying like you think he doesn't like you. So you might even be anxious or tense around him and he always
yes,
gets so he gets anxious and tense around you, and he's like, "Yo, what's this dude Saeed's problem?
mm.
I just want him to
it's
like
true.
me."
I think, yeah, that's a very good point. And I did think of that. Like I was aware at times I was angry, and I was aware that I'm angry of him, and there was multiple reasons for that. But I guess it just maybe our we weren't supposed to have a good relation. Maybe we could have done better at it, but no one chose to kind of say to the other persons like, "Yo, there's a lot of tension here. We should probably just talk about this."
Mm.
Well, not your responsibility as the employee. That's the role of a leader in that situation. Uh,
Mm,
so,
Good point.
yeah, fair, fair. Bad leader.
Because there's a lot
Hakan,
of
he's
ways to
gone.
use
Anyway,
your job.
we move on.
There
Exactly.
you go.
Mhm.
Well, thanks for
But have
sharing,
you
Say.
encountered, no worries. Cam, have you encountered anyone like that in your past, and how did you deal with it? Like, where it was your
oh
responsibility?
man, there's been a few times where I saw someone and just immediately I'm like, I don't like you, and then some and some reason why we interact with each other, and I'm like, oh man, I think I might be wrong. And I end up becoming like great friends with the person.
Mm,
My best friend to this day, Matt Mays, we lived with each other since I was 17 years old. I lived with him. We lived together for like 15 years. When I first met him, it was when Napoleon Dynamite was out,
mm-hmm.
Yeah.
and he was in Florida. He had that like afro, and I would call him Napoleon Dynamite, and I just didn't like him. Nothing specific. He wasn't my type of person. We didn't even really interact. And then we hung out once for the first time. I was like, I think I love this man. And he's like the coolest dude ever. But it was this perception we have of people. And if you're not able to let that go, you end up making an enemy out of someone who can end up being your best friend.
Mm. Wow.
Yeah, that's a good one.
I think a lot of times we judge others because we judge ourselves. Does that make sense? Like our insecurities or our hatred for other people comes from us having been hated or having something we hate about ourselves or something we're insecure about. And so we take it out on other people. Like maybe in that example, you were like, oh, I don't like that person. He seems like a nerd. He likes Napoleon Dynamite. But in reality, you are trying to distance yourself from a nerd persona because that's something that you're insecure about, being geeky, whatever. So, like it just those kinds of judgments you always have to ask yourself when you're judging other people, is this me judging them or is this something from my own internal psychology that's making me have negative feelings towards them?
Yeah, and really your judgment doesn't matter because they might value something completely different than you. Like if you see a person, you judge them for not having the best job, and it's like they chose that job so they can spend time with their kids
Hmm.
because they value spending time with their kids. It's like we all value different things, so we can't even put value on other people's judgment of us.
Hmm.
Mm.
So how do you do when you're working with a team, right? You were the captain of the U.S.
Yeah.
men's boxing team. So okay, what's that like working with other people, being a leader? You want everyone to be in sync, you want everyone to be on the same page, but everyone has their own motivations for boxing. How do you get everyone on the same board if everyone's so differently motivated?
I was I was very I'm not a team player.
Mm.
I'm not a team player. I
Okay.
I actually honestly I became captain because I someone had to be captain and I didn't want anyone telling me what to do.
Fair enough.
Like
Yeah.
that's how I end. I didn't end up as the leader because I was the best leader. I was just the loudest. And if anyone had a problem, I had no problem with speaking to the coaches on behalf of the athletes
Hmm.
because I beef with the coaches. I had no problems. And the team was like, well, Cam will dive on the sword for us because if there's something that the athletes wanted to fight for, I'll go knock on the coach's door. We're equals.
Hmm.
I'm not lucky to be here on this team. I earned my spot. Uh, but I do think in hindsight, I would have carried myself different as a leader. I would have been more thoughtful of what it would have taken for my teammates to feel comfortable.
Mm. And why does
Mhm.
that matter? Them being comfortable, right? You're working on a boxing team.
Because really the only thing that matters is, I guess, is your comfortability, your preparation to perform. And if having a team prayer before a workout would even make one of the fighters feel just 1% more comfortable during the workout, then I think I should have been doing that because all those things add up. And as captain, I'm supposed to want to bring out the best of my team. So I think I would have definitely done things differently, but I was 19.
I know, right?
Fair.
We're
Fair.
we're so silly when we're younger, but we learn a lot along the way. Um, Saeed, um,
Yes.
what do you think of Cam's documentary? I mean, it was very cool to see your progression and all the obstacles you faced along the way. What was that like for you, Cam? I mean, you got on, like, did Netflix reach out to you, or what was the process like?
Yeah. So when I got kicked off the Olympic team and when I came
Mm-hmm.
back, I decided like I'd lost my identity as an athlete because once I didn't have my sport for my 1 year suspension, I didn't know who I was.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt like the sport of boxing was like a woman, and I spent all this time courting her and giving her my heart, and she took another boxer to the Olympics. Like, so I was very resentful. So my thought process, I'm going to return to boxing and market myself as more than just an athlete or a boxer. And uh, I changed my last name. I wore capes. I flipped in the ring. I did dances. And the opportunity to do this documentary came out. And they had asked a few boxers, and none of them would do it for free because Netflix wasn't paying.
Hmm.
Uh, and I understood. My only question was, is it a made by Netflix documentary? Which means, is it going to be on Netflix forever? And
Mm.
they told me it was, and I was like, cool, I'll do it. It didn't pay a dime. But what I realized is it would give me instant credibility. It is as good as a college degree. It it shows that I have some validity in what I'm talking about. And they portrayed me in a great light,
Hmm.
Yeah.
uh, because if they follow you around for 3 years, you're gonna have some bad days,
Hmm.
and they can showcase any story they want. Grateful they showcase me in that light because that's who I like to think of myself as. But there's a lot of sad times in that documentary.
That's true.
Yeah, I think they did a great job at showcasing like your strength and your focus. Your when I was hearing you speak in the documentary, I was like, this guy is the best boxer in the world, and they did so well at presenting that. Um, I have a question that's a bit different to this to the documentary's topic, but I wanted to know what's your favorite type of strike, or like where's your favorite place to land a strike?
Oh, it's my favorite punch is not a punch. Let me explain. So I'm a
Okay.
southpaw, which means my right hand is usually the lead. Most people, their left hand is their lead.
Hmm.
So my favorite punch to throw, and I do this in the beginning of every fight. As soon as you throw a jab, I slip it and I throw an uppercut under your jab. Second time you throw,
Ooh.
I'm really good at it. It's the best thing I'm good at. I practice it more than anything. Second time you throw a jab, I slip, uppercut. Third time you throw a jab, I slip, uppercut. The fourth time you throw the jab, I slip. You close your eyes because you know the uppercut's coming, but I don't throw it. I smile. So you close your eyes, and when you do open your eyes, it's me.
So
And
it's like
now
doing
you
the mind
know
games.
if you throw that jab, you're going to get hit with an uppercut, and you stop throwing that jab. 50% of your offense is gone.
Oof.
That's that's a smart tactic. Yeah, you're taking out their offense completely, and then they're gonna have to play off their cross, and which is a bit longer, harder to reach, easier to see coming at you. I mean, I guess you're also great at chess, aren't you? If playing this
Yeah.
game of tactics, right?
Yeah. Boxing chess, like the moves in the ring. I never actually learned real chess, but I told myself if I ever went to prison, I'll definitely pick it up.
Okay, that's a interesting requirement to have to be able to start chess.
I mean, I feel like I'd have a lot of free time.
That's for sure. Yeah, that's true. So if you did ever go to jail, how well do you think you'd fare in jail?
Definitely my upper body will be huge. All I would do is lift. just just live and I'd read a lot. I'd definitely get into meditation. I wouldn't have bills for a while, so I'd have a lot of bandwidth freed up. uh like, do you know how productive I would be if I went to prison? So definitely working out. I get swole. I've always wanted to get a love and respect for religion. I'd find a
Hmm.
religion. I'd choose whichever religion had the strongest yard gang presence. Uh, yeah, I'd start stretching. I'd st- okay. Either of you have lower back issues?
Yeah, a little bit.
I'm all right for
I do
now.
some
Yeah,
yeah, stretching here and there. Hmm.
and what the we all know how you fix that.
Hmm.
It's 90 minutes of lower back stretches a night.
Hmm.
Who has that type of time?
No.
Prisoners. So
Oh
if
yeah.
I went to jail, I'd be so productive. It it really turned my life around.
You know, is that why you think Ali got in his best shape when he did go?
Maybe.
That
I
is
would, of
insane.
course, could I identify as a woman for this prison?
Yeah, you can. It's 2025.
I would be the strongest inmate. It's fair to say I will run this prison. I'm going to be a good leader, though. Yeah, I'm going to put a library in the women's prison because a strong, educated woman is a powerful woman.
Man, you're not afraid of anything. It sounds like you're just so you have your mind in check that nothing scares you, nothing throws you off. I mean, everyone has fears in life, and for me, yeah, I mean, fear of failure, that's a big one. Fear of accidentally messing up, but for you, it's like, oh, I'll take it on. I
Uh,
mean,
it,
what's
it's not so much I'm not afraid. It's that okay. So like imagine like young you as a kid, right?
mm-hmm,
You know
mm-hmm,
how to swim in the shallow end of the pool, but you're afraid to go in the deep end,
mm-hmm.
right? Even though you know how to swim. Now, if your dad walked by and just pushed you in, you would be like, "Oh, okay, I guess I can swim." But it's a dick move, right?
Mm-hmm.
How many
Yeah.
times in life are we able to do something, but we're afraid to take that jump? Because if you take that jump, you will figure it out.
Hmm. Yeah.
But it's like you have to, sounds bad, but you have to hate yourself enough to push yourself from the pool.
Okay. So as if so it's like, you have to take the leap of faith instead of someone pushing you.
Yeah, because as an adult, no one's pushing you anymore. You leave school, no one cares if you hand in your assignments. You just get fired.
That's a very good
So
point.
true.
Yeah. You have to take your own risks and just jump for it. So in your personal life, what are the biggest risks that you've taken recently?
Uh, I moved to Austin, Texas I don't know anyone here. I was like, it'd be cool to live here. And I picked up and I moved here in last July. Uh, I lived in my van for a few years. I Another risk in 2012 when I got kicked off the Olympic team, I could have just turned pro and made money that way,
Mm,
but I saw a vision for myself, so I was like, "Oh, I'll just bet on me." Because if I turn pro by 35, even if I made money, I'll be washed. I'll be
mm-hmm.
old. But if I took this other route, it'll take me longer to get there. But the older I get, the more gray hair I have, the more my words are worth, the more life
Mhm.
experience I have. So I chose a career with longevity. But that was a huge risk because I looked crazy. Again, I was this boxer who was on top of the world, was going to the Olympics. And just a few years later, I was living in my van. I never really explained to anyone what I was doing. So it just looked like things weren't going well for me.
Mm-hmm.
And they weren't. But I took that risk and I bet on myself. And now I look less stupid. But you have to take the risk of looking stupid. It's a part of the game.
I
But
think,
I'm terrified the whole time, by the way. Like
yeah.
I put myself in situations and I'm like, okay, I got to figure this out. And I just work under pressure and I figure it out. But I don't let that side be seen. And I kind of play this character to the world that I can figure anything out. And I'm like, yeah, I'll figure that out. And then the door closes and I'm by myself and I panic. And I usually don't drown in the pool.
It seems like you've taught yourself to take multiple risks, and through those failures, you've just learned how to, stay calm, even when you're taking a new risk. You got so used to it. You just got so used to it that most people who make the same decisions as you now, they would fail. They wouldn't be able to handle it. But for you, it's just like, yeah, whatever, man. I guess this is
Yeah,
easy for me.
yeah, shout out to my mom. She's a gambling addict. I would see she had nerves of steel. Like the risks that she would take, and she'd always figure things out. I'm like, oh yeah. I I think I see the benefit of seeing that in my life
Mm.
because my
Mm,
mother took risks. My dad took risks. They were people who lived on the edge. Now, if they didn't take risks, they might have been further in life,
Yeah.
but they didn't let fear of failure or logic stop them. And
same.
I think
Yeah.
our job as people is to just be slightly better than our parents and
Hmm.
use the gifts they give us and fine tune it to make our lives better. And our jobs as people is to have children and make their lives just slightly better, or not have children and just like travel a lot, like me, because you don't need to have kids to be fulfilled. There's a lot of things outside to do.
That's true. I mean, obviously to each their own. Some people do want to have kids, some don't.
Yeah, and they
Everyone has their
can.
own choice. Yeah, yeah. And going to the point about, like the being crazy part, to be honest, I think, if you want to be a wise person, or like you want to be able to teach people things, you do have to be, or have at least had a few crazy experiences, you know? Because without the crazy experiences, you're just another person, you're normal. There's nothing wrong with you. You can't teach people anything,
Yeah.
right? I don't know.
Yeah.
What do you guys think?
Oh no, no. Yeah, I think you need, here's the thing: everyone has crazy experiences in their life. I'm
Yeah.
just really good at storytelling.
Mm.
Like
Fair. Okay.
that's all speaking is. We all go through stuff. We all struggle. Life sucks for all of us. It's just some of us are better at articulating it, so we mention it on stages.
Hmm.
But I am no different than anybody else. I haven't figured anything out. Don't even take all of my advice. Maybe sort through everything I say and maybe take the few nuggets that apply to you. But don't listen to everything anyone says. No one knows anything. This is everyone's first ride here.
Hmm.
That's good advice. That I will take. Yes.
Um, regarding risk and being able to tolerate risk, and um, what do you teach people, like young people? Like, of course, we want people to take risks, but in ways that will benefit them. There are risks that have way more negative outcome than positive outcomes. So how do you how do you in your own mind do the pros and cons evaluation, and how do you teach others to do that?
Well, at the top of the list, if you have dependents, as in children or anyone who looks to you to feed them, do not take my advice. I am very high risk. It's
Hmm.
not for everyone.
Hmm.
Like, that's above all else. Don't bet more than you can lose. But I'm big on taking risks. I will swing for the fences. And if I strike out, I'll walk to the dugout with my head held high. Because to me, you look more foolish not trying than you do failing. And that's the story I tell myself.
Wow,
Yeah, that's true.
I
Because if
agree.
you don't try, you're just giving up, and
Yeah.
giving up isn't a good sign.
Yeah. And here's something I don't know how to word this. I'm supposed to be a speaker, but I'm just this thought I'm having. Uh, we don't ever want to admit we don't deserve something.
Hmm.
Like I'd saw something, a post, and it was something like nothing goes right. Like it was just all these things. Like, oh, I'm working out, I'm eating healthy, I'm doing all the right things. Why does my life suck? It was like, well, if you think you're doing all the right things and things aren't working out, then there's no hope because there's no rhyme or reason or
Mm.
logic. But if you can assess your situation and realize that you don't deserve the things you want because you haven't done the right things, if you can admit that, then that means if you do the right things, you can get the things you want.
Hmm.
It gives you hope telling yourself that you don't necessarily deserve it right off the bat. And I know it's a counterintuitive process, but if I'm like, I'm doing everything right in my life and nothing's working, then why even keep trying? But if you can accurately assess your situation and take accountability and be like, hey, my life is like this because X, Y, and Z. All right, it's not my fault, but it's my responsibility. I'm going to work on this thing.
Hmm.
It's true, and sometimes you need to have a objectivity. I think people get so caught up in their own minds and their own way they see the world that they don't have like an accurate, objective assessment of where they are, what they're doing, and that's why I think like being in communities and working with teams and having coaches and having people better than you, being able to give you advice and train you, I think that is so important for someone in that kind of situation.
I agree. And one thing that and I never thought I'd say this, but I see the benefit of therapy
Mm.
because a lot of times you just have a dumb idea in your head and you confirm it with more dumb ideas in your head because sometimes your head's just dumb and you build up this whole story and narrative you told yourself and you look into the world as if that's true. But when you go to therapy, you have to say those dumb things out loud. And they're like, oh, wait, well, there's a lot of flaws in my logic. And I think even if it's not therapy, because not everyone has access to therapy,
Hmm.
but even speaking to someone, telling someone your problem, like have a friend who can hold it down and keep secrets. Or or maybe just tell strangers on the road when you travel. But saying things out loud to someone else makes you see the flaws in your logic when it's just in your
Hmm.
head by yourself.
Mm.
That's definitely true.
So, so what do you tell people who don't like, who, don't believe in therapy? How do you, for example, someone who actually does need therapy, how do you persuade them to do therapy? I know
Uh
a few people, that's
so
why I'm asking.
Sounds like I know a few
uh,
people.
so I think therapy's real if you believe it's real.
Hmm.
Mm,
Everything is real if you believe it's real. Any belief, any religion, if you believe it is real, that's all we've been speaking about this podcast.
Hmm.
yeah.
And if you believe that therapy is real and you buy into it and you do the work, you will see the benefits because you believe it is real. But if you think it's just nonsense and it's just first world solutions and it's a rich people thing, then it won't work for you. And I wouldn't even try to convince you to go because it'll be worth wasting your copay.
Mm, that's true. Yeah. Is there a way to get them to believe, or nah, just give up on that?
Oh, I would say lead by example. Uh,
Mm,
like if you saw benefits, like if you saw benefits of your life of therapy,
yeah.
don't don't be vegan about it. Don't like just go around like go to therapy, do this, do that. But if it comes up in conversation, be like, oh yeah, this was super beneficial to me, and keep it moving. But be a soft, subtle advocate of it. Just like I just said, oh yeah, I'm a big fan of therapy. Never thought I would be.
Yeah.
I and I think that's the way we kind of destigmatize it. Uh, but don't like shove it down people's throats. I mean, they're only going to go when they're ready. Because I no one was going to make me go until I was ready.
That's a
I
very good
went when I
point.
was
I
ready.
like the idea of like subtly dropping hints. You don't want to shove it down their throats. You want to just like bring it casually in a conversation so it can seem natural, and you're just like, oh, yeah, there you go. Oh, it's right there. Take it or leave it.
Yeah.
Ali, what do
Um,
you think about that?
say that again, Said.
I was I was asking for your opinion on therapy and how to like persuade people or how to
So
tell
I don't
people
know
about
if
it.
there's ways to persuade people like um you can lead a horse to water, but you can't force them to drink it. I think you can give people tools, and if they ask for it, you can help them. But everyone's on their own journey, and sometimes there's
Mm,
people in your close family in your life you want them to do better and to do take care of themselves better. But again, it's everyone's on their own journey. Ultimately, you can't control someone, and I don't think you should. Um, so that's my opinion on. I think definitely therapy works, and I think the reason is like you said, like our whole life is just the way we think. Our perception of the world is our actual world. I mean, look at Cam, for example, right? Like you start off with not much, and then just by being able to have ideas in your head and thinking about them constantly and training your internal dialogue, you've built yourself into someone who's awesome, and you've had so much success in the ring and outside of it. And it all comes from the way you're thinking, right? The thoughts you're having, and you living in your mind and building your own kind of universe for yourself. Um, yeah, I think of the world like a big rock, and you're a sculptor, and you just need to sculpt it, right? And your thoughts are the chisel that's sculpting, and then the sculpture is what you've done with your thinking, with the world that you've built. But you need to put in that mental tuning in order to get there. Would you agree with that, Cam?
I agree, and it doesn't happen overnight. I love the
absolutely.
analogy of just sculpting the reality you want to exist within, because it's based off everything you do. And it's very hard to change that because as adults, no one's going to tell us to put our phone away.
Hmm.
We have to parent ourselves, and that's not always the easiest thing. Because
Hmm.
my logic is if I can afford it, I deserve it. So I learned that discipline isn't a give. I learned that love isn't give myself everything I wanted. Love is discipline.
Mm.
And I am I dropping bars? Is he dropping gems?
Man, Cam, yeah, that's a good one. This is a great podcast on like mindset. Like I think a lot of people would benefit from this because people aren't ever explicitly taught this.
You know what they're
No.
not taught? They're taught actually the opposite. So when I was walking the gym, I had the
Hmm.
6 mile walk. I talked myself positive talks. The pendulum swung. I became super confident,
Mm.
a little bit douchey, if you may.
Hmm.
And when I got kicked off the Olympic team, one of the big comments was, "I bet he's humble now." I looked up the definition of humility. It's having or showing a low or modest estimate of one's own importance. The Latin root word is lowly.
Mm.
And what I realize is we've been conditioned our whole life to be humble, to be small, to not celebrate too much, to not to think, don't think too highly of yourself. And if what you think about yourself becomes true and you think lowly, humble, you humble yourself, that then becomes your reality. So a reason of me changing my last name to Awesome is I threw away the idea of being humble, the idea of humility. I wanted to believe in me. I wanted to speak highly about me. It's free to speak highly about yourself. And Saeed, just because I think highly of me, it doesn't mean I think anything differently of you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Uh, and also, I can see how much of a true professional you are because even with the power outage that happened on my screen, you still powered through, continued with your speech, and didn't react at all. That
Cam's got his own power.
was great. No,
Real
no,
quick,
I'm
Cam,
not
what
in
do you?
Spain. This is a regular thing that happens in Lebanon.
It's not in Spain. What are your thoughts about like having personas for boxing, or having like like how much marketing seems to be more important in boxing than skill, especially when we're talking about like these big events. I'm thinking about um like celebrity events where they're having all these influencer boxing events, where it's way more about the character and the persona, and trash talking whatever, than it is about the actual fight, because sometimes those fights end up being less than a spectacle. I'm thinking about Mike Tyson, Jake Paul right
Yeah. Uh, we have to remember what boxing is.
now. Mm-hmm.
Boxing's a business.
Mm.
That's why it's on television. It's to
Mm-hmm.
make a profit. And there's different reasons why you box. Some people box to be a champion, for the grit and all that, and some people box for money. Uh, I like money way more than I like belts.
Mm-hmm.
And would you rather? Do you know who Andre Ward is?
No.
Okay, Andre Ward, one of the greatest boxers to ever live.
Mm-hmm.
The last gold medalist Olympian in the 2004 Olympics, retired as an undefeated pro boxer.
Wow.
You don't know who he is. Do you know who Jake Paul is?
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay,
unfortunately.
boxing's a business. Now, would you rather be Andre Ward, all those accolades, the respect and the honor that comes with that, Boxing Hall of Fame, and he's a great commentator, by the way, or would you like rather be Jake Paul? And there's no right or wrong answers, but what I think boxers should realize is that there's power in your following.
Mm.
You don't have to lean on promoters anymore to build your boxing career.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
can make more of a career for yourself and have some autonomy if you build your own following. I like what Jake Paul is doing for boxing because he's taking advantage of the business of it.
Mm-hmm.
Go for it, bro. Make your money.
Mm-hmm.
Also, it's crazy that Tyson's still fighting at this age. Like, we should be grateful someone like that is still alive. Like the crazy life he lived, the fact that he like rebranded himself over and over and he's still able to make a career for himself. And I love seeing athletes reinvent themselves over time. And I mean, I hope I'm not fighting at that age, but I love that he is.
yeah. It's
That
great
is
to see
amazing.
people like that who are capable of wearing multiple hats. Because something in life that people will constantly tell you is that you have like one role in life. You just do that. You have one job, one career throughout your life, and that's it. But they don't teach you that you can actually do multiple things, if you're willing and to push yourself to learn about multiple subjects and experience and have multiple different experiences. Maybe it's not cut out for everyone, but you can have a really interesting life that way. You don't have to be restricted to just one thing for the rest of your life. Yeah. I don't
Yeah.
know. What are you guys'
I,
opinions on
uh, oh,
that?
I don't, I'm not one to be put into a box. My whole thing is you should do what you want, question everything. Tradition stunts growth. I
Yeah.
don't do anything because I think it's what I should do. It's just what I feel like doing. And I think that's kind of the key to happiness is being able to just do what you want. But so many of us desire success so badly that we're willing to become a person that we don't want to be.
Mm.
And even if we work a job where we have to carry ourselves in a different way and we can't be our authentic self, and
Mhm.
even when we get off work, social media is a thing. You live in a small town, you can't be someone different when you go to the grocery store. So then you kind of feel trapped in this persona that you don't really agree with and you don't know how it started.
Yeah,
That is,
that's true.
uh, something I learned from martial arts that relates to podcasting. I never expressed this before like this, but I have this visual in my head when I would do sparring. Oh my gosh, I would get hit. Anytime I get distracted for 1 second, that's when I get hit, you know? And it's awful. And so I've learned when sparring to be totally in the zone. I can't think about anything at all. I just have to be in the moment. And because if I'm not, I'm going to get hit. And so that's how I've kind of translated that to podcasting, in that you want to make sure everyone's on their toes, everyone's awake, everyone's attentive, because the second people start getting drowsy or inattentive, um I think of that as getting like
Be,
punched in the face.
yeah, that's the importance of being present. Yeah, the importance of being present.
That's how I really, that's something I learned from martial arts that translated to other parts of my life, including podcasting. And so, no, I think we need to learn from all these different things, and that's what makes us better and better as people, and being able to invent more and keep pushing things beyond their boundaries and innovating. You can't put yourself in a box. You have to expand because you learn so much from all these different things that are out there.
Yeah. Uh, I mean, one of the things is I'll just tell people like, what is your definition of success? And if you have to write it down, it becomes more real because then it's less fluid. But I mean, one of the things that I did early on is like I made a list of what I think a loser is, and
Mm.
we all have a definition. We all have different definitions of what that is.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And I made a list of that. I keep that list, and I make sure I don't do any of those things to become that person. It's more of like an accountability thing.
Hmm. So, what is success for you?
Me, doing what I want. It's doing what I want, not based off of money. Like I want to be able to go speak at middle schools. Uh, that's what I want to do. I want to be able to perform. I want to not set an alarm clock. Uh, I want to have a garden. I like to have a garden. I don't like tomatoes, but I picture myself eating tomatoes from my garden. Just the principle of it. Uh, I'd like a sauna and a ice bath in my
Mm.
home. Uh, those that Wi-Fi, good Wi-Fi,
Hmm.
and and I'd like a good business credit card, so I can get points, so I could travel because I also like to travel. And to me, doing what I want, not setting an alarm, and traveling, that's success.
That's
Sounds like
beautiful.
freedom as well. Yeah.
Hmm.
It's
Yeah,
beautiful.
And everyone has their own definition, and
Yes.
that's what's so cool about it. You write that down. Whatever your definition of success, whatever your definition of failure is, write it down. At least you need to know what it is that you want in your own life. Because how else are you going to go after it if you don't even know?
yeah. Write down those things and see if the actions you're taking in life are going to lead to those things. And then you either change the goals or you change your actions.
Um, what about? I have one last question for you before we wrap things up about the hot and cold. What benefit does that do for you and others? The hot sauna, the cold plunge. You say you wanted one in your own home. So
Yeah.
why was that one on your
So,
list?
so I like saunas. I love saunas, but I don't love that I have to be around other people.
And
Uh, I just
they're
I just want
sweaty and they're naked and
yeah, and then
people
I
are
gotta
farting
sit
in
where they're
there.
sweaty and naked. Yeah. And then people keep getting up to walk in and out. And when they walk in and out, they open the door all the way wide. No, you
Yep.
crack the door, you slide out. Okay. You keep the heat in. But now I have to sit there, and every 3 minutes someone comes in and out, it changes the temperature. And then you know what I think? Do you know what I think? I think I should have one in my own house. That's what I think.
You should get one. That's
Yeah.
that's great. That's a great idea. And I think on that note, we can wrap up. Uh, Cam, thank you for being awesome and thank you for coming onto this podcast. It's been great having you here, learning from you, and sharing your knowledge to our audience. Um,
Thank you for having me.
Guys, this has been another episode of A to the Show. Thank you for watching. Please don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. And we'll see you in the next one. Peace.
Peace. Out of here.